Hi, it's Neil Walters of neilsvideos.com, and I thought I'd do a different style of videos today, and it's called 12 Reasons Why You're Not in the Top 200 of the TownStar competition. So a lot of people are watching my channel because they play TownStar from Gala Games, and if you haven't heard of it, it's a fun and interesting game with a lot of thinking of how to properly set up your town, and they have contests that run from Tuesday through Saturday about every 2 weeks. And there are prizes for being in the top, I think, 600 normally. And if you can get in the top 200, you get even better with those prizes, all right? You might come up with 3 reasons, 5, 8, 10, 12. I was going to have 10, but then I started listing them and enumerating them. I ended up with 12. So this is what I got for my list, okay? Number 12. What's I got? You make dumb mistakes. So I know sometimes I'm playing like I click a building and I want to remove it. But then maybe I'll move the cursor and then I click remove and then it actually removes the wrong building. And so if that was $1 million building or like a nuclear plant or something like that, that could be totally disastrous. The other dumb mistake you could make is overspending your cash. So for example, you build too many buildings too fast and then you run out of city cash. And then what do you got to do? You have to sell your buildings you just invested in, and that can slow you down a lot. So not knowing or looking up red versus green timers and the effects of proximities. I think everybody knows this. That's not really a dumb mistake. That might be more of a beginner mistake. But I'm going to refer to DubStepRod probably more than once in this video. He's got this wonderful playbook that's available that will show you what all the objects in the game are, and then you can find out like how they're affected by other things, and you can learn what makes a timer green versus red and that type of thing. So that's something you definitely need to know. And eventually you start to memorize a lot of the more common ones, like for example, trees take 5 water, for example, or that I didn't really have it memorized recently that a refinery, I think, has 4 levels of dirty, but a power plant only has 3. So things like that. These work people, why do they keep bugging me when I'm making videos? Okay, you say, I didn't get a good starting location in the land rush. Okay, well, that's going to go away soon. When they come out with this new system called Godot, they say there's not going to be a land rush. I don't know what they're doing instead of that. I don't know if we're all going to have the exact same biome or if we're going to get random biomes or whatever. But a biome is like a forest or a desert or the plains and that type of thing. Whether you have a mountain, whether you have a river, that sort of stuff. Like this week, we all would like to have a mountain and a river, but there's not that many of those spots to go around. Number 10 on the countdown is, scroll too fast. You don't have a good cash rush strategy. This often changes with different metas. So I'm going to re-explain some of the basics a lot here. A meta is basically when they're having a special contest, they will basically boost or buff, sometimes they say, some of the rewards, and then they will actually decrease or hurt the other rewards. It's like this week, everybody could make silicon to get a good cash rush, so there wasn't much of a strategy there. It's just make silicon and you'll have a lot of cash, and almost too much cash, But other times, you may not have something that good of a bonus, and you might have to figure out what's your rush strategy. Like in the past, people have done sheep pens for a rush, or they do sugar or whatever. So that's something you have to practice and play with on your own so that when you get into a competition, you already know it and you're ready to go. Which brings us to number 9. You don't practice the competition ahead of time. So they usually tell us what the meta is a week or 2 before. But however, sometimes they don't actually put the code on the servers until sometimes even a day or 2 before. So it varies quite often how that works. But so, for instance, rocking horses have been around since, and rocking horses is the meta build we're all playing this week. So rocking horses have been around since right before Christmas or so. And so, you could have been practicing rocking horses, even though you're not going to get the meta changes where the points will go up or down based on what the exact meta is. But anyway, so you can practice the best you can with these types of things, especially when they're new items. And, I always try to provide you one of those, not exactly a flow chart, more of a mind map or whatever, what goes into what. So when they have a new contest, like with rocking horses, I kind of show you in my videos what goes in it and what composes it. It's called the bill of material structure, so you got to know what goes into what so you can plan out your town. And that was my next point, which this could have been a separate item. You don't pre-plan your builds. So that's part of practicing. When you practice, you can then come up with what they call a build is how you're going to build your town, right? You don't just wait till the first day of the competition and say, I think I'll put this building there, right? You have to have a plan, either pre-plotted out, and there's tools that allow you to do that. I can put a link below the video, or you can do it on paper, or you can just do it in your mind if you're more experienced. So I don't tend to plan out exactly my build because I never know what my exact biome is going to be. So for example, this week I actually ended up with 2 mountains on a corner, and I'll show you that build later. It was kind of fun. I got I just did things kind of different than I normally do. And once you get kind of good with the game, it's not going to matter exactly what kind of biome you have and that type of stuff. You can learn to adjust your game and your strategy. But each time you practice, you will learn something. Hey, number 8. Why does it do that? You don't have enough experience yet. So if you're still a beginner, you're not going to expect to be in the top 200 the first month or two, right? You're going to have to learn, and you learn by playing, experimenting, trying things, making mistakes, and failures, basically, right? Have you tried all the different biomes yet? You know what the difference is between a desert and a forest? Like what are the pros and cons of each, right? So like, in the desert, you get the oil seep. In the forest, you get a lot of ponds to sell, but then you have the problem of clearing the trees. You got to know what is the mountain? How does that help you, and how does it hurt you? How do rivers are pretty much just all help, and oceans are mostly help, but the salt can cause problems. So you need to know how the different biomes work as well, and you just learn that by experience. Number 7. Your computer's too bad, basically. The way I worded it here is your frames per second is not in the 50 to 60 plus range. I don't know what the fastest is of anybody, but I recently got a new laptop, and when I play on that laptop, right now I'm getting like 55 to 62, somewhere in that range typically. Or in other words, your computer or your graphics card is too slow. One thing I did recently is, I think it was even with my new computer, but anyway, I was playing with different browsers, trying to see how the frames per second varied from one to the other, and it actually made a difference. And for me, it was Chrome was actually faster. And other people say, well, I hate Chrome, whatever. So everybody has to choose the browser they're going to play under. And this may or may not be, I think this may not be impacted either once they go to Godot. I can't know for sure. But with Godot, the game will be called server-based. And they say you can close your browser and the game will continue to run. Now, I don't know if your computer could slow your game down further. If like your computer can't keep up with their server, I don't know what's going to happen. That would be interesting to see. You don't run the game for an hour or two before you go to bed at night, i.e. make sure your town is working and your auto cells are set up correctly and everything is moving smoothly. So like this week, I got killed during one of the nights. I dropped from maybe 200 or 300 down to 600 because my warehouses filled up with an inventory. So what I did is I practiced my game using remote desktop so I could do screenshots and videos and use my big monitor and my keyboard. But then once I got my town built, I moved it to non-remote desktop. And for some reason, the auto cell stuff, I think they're stored in cookies or somewhere. They're not stored on the server. So yeah, I had to reset up all my auto cells. And sure enough, I forgot, I think, 2 items. And you can't set your auto cell up until you have one of those items in inventory. So I set up auto cell for everything I saw, but then during the night, something else basically filled up my warehouses and causing the whole city to basically stop. Number 5, you don't handle the bumps in the night. So auto cell not working is one of them. But another example is Windows Update. And I can't remember if that happened this week or last. I think it was this week that happened to me too. There are ways you can study and learn how to turn off the Windows updates. Otherwise, they might just kind of happen to you whenever they want to, right? Or worst case is you do your Windows update during the day, and then it shouldn't do another one for probably another week after that, right? So maybe you do a Windows update before the competition begins. But then then Microsoft might come out with an update on a Tuesday or Thursday or something, and that could cause your game to die. The other thing could cause your game to die, I got this from reading in Discord. So that should actually be another point I should put in here, is you don't read Discord. So you need to kind of read Discord and learn from the people there and ask questions on Discord. That should actually be a whole page to itself, but I forgot that one. So anyway, read Discord, ask questions, but in there, I found out people say, oh, their browser crashed after 6 to 8 hours. So since you sleep for 6 to 8 hours probably, I started refreshing my browser right before I go to bed. So you just refresh it or back up and come back into your game, and then you'll be, well, you might be safe for the night. You never know. But what they were saying is that after they play 6, 8, 10 hours, the browser will crash and they have to refresh anyway. So you don't want that happening in the middle of the night. And again, that shouldn't be an issue with Godot, the new version either, which is supposedly coming the end of January, so it's not long away. The other thing you can do, of course, is when you get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, like us old guys do, you can just take a peek at your screen and make sure everything's kind of moving, which, it's not fun to do in the middle of the night. But if you're really serious and you want to be the top 200 or higher, you might want to think about that. Number 4, you have to work for a living and get your sleep. Okay. For me, the game starts at 11 a.m. Central Time. If you live in Europe or India, then perhaps that's the middle of the night for you. So you have to decide how much you value your sleep and your job. You obviously don't want to lose your job playing this game. So for me, I sometimes have meetings on Tuesday when the game starts. And I guess that's one of the things I really don't like about how they do it. My suggestion down here is a little bit, I think, something they should consider. I said, to me, it would be better to let everyone run their town for example, 40 hours or 60 hours over a 90-hour or 100-hour time period. So let people choose how many hours when to play, but then we all run our town the exact same number of hours. So I think that would be a big improvement. The other thing I was going to say is, the first day is critical. So what I usually do is try to get my town built during the first day. This week was an easy build, but some builds are harder, and maybe I'm getting better too as I go, but I have oftentimes stayed up till 1 a.m. and then I just say, okay, I'm not going to do anymore. So even between 11 a.m. and 1 a.m., you got to get your town built before you go to bed, because you need to be making your points and your scores and your cash during that first night, right? So that's one of my pet peeves, is that the game starts and ends on a certain clock time, which may or may not be convenient to you and your schedule. Number 3, you don't have enough NFTs or enough good ones for the competition. You knew this would be on the list, right? Everybody says, I don't win because I don't have the right NFTs, right? But I'm mentioning again here, DubStepRod. He oftentimes puts a non-NFT build up there. I don't know if they'll get you in the top 200, but from what I've seen of them so far, it looks like they will probably get you in the top 600. So don't always whine about NFTs. And then as you play, you're going to win some NFTs. And a lot of the people that are, of course, winning now or in the top 200 have been around since the beginning. And they have purchased some NFTs. They have won some NFTs and so on. And then there are some NFTs that you can't even get now. So that's one thing about being there and being present all the time, is you're going to get the NFTs when they're available, right before they sell out and that type of thing. Okay, number 2, what's it going to be? You don't tweak and tune your build to make it better, or you over tweak, you experiment too much and you mess things up. So there's 2 sides to this coin. This week, I built mine on Tuesday. I think I let it run all day Wednesday, and then I said, I should tweak it a little. So I should have done that sooner. But I tweaked it, and I think we're building rocking horses this week. I think I got up from roughly 39 to 49 or 40 to 50, basically, just by making a few changes. I added 2 or 3 more loggers. I got rid of one of my sand mines, and, just different little things like that. So you can tweak your game, but then you actually have to measure the performance too. So you have to know how to use the performance monitor and let it run, say, for an hour or 2 and say, well, did this do better than that? And that's things you can do on the test server too. Over time, as you learn what tweaks are good to make and which ones maybe not good to make. I have seen people in the discussion forum talk about over tuning or over tweaking your town. And I don't know why that would mess it up, but apparently it can. And number 1 is you just don't have a positive attitude, guys. So get a positive mindset about it. and or don't get bored and ignore things. So if your game is just kind of going along, you might not be watching it and things might go out of whack. Like I said, sometimes it happens in the middle of the night, but it can happen during the day too. So you need to watch your game at least every 30 minutes or an hour, say the first 24 hours of the game that you're awake anyway. And the bit about the positive attitude is there are many times, again, during the land rush, I got a horrible piece of property or land. And I said, no, I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to take the property I got or the town I got, and I'm going to do the best I can with it. So don't give up, basically. If you get a lousy land plot, then just say, hey, I'm going to build the best town I can on it. And if nothing else, it's a learning experience for next time. So that is Nifty Neil's top 12 reasons why you're not in the competition. Or I could have worded that 12 things you need to do to get into the top 200 of a competition, perhaps. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a like and subscribe if you do, and we'll be talking about more stuff in the future. Have a great weekend.